Using body camera video from the crime scene, prosecutors appeared to focus on Daniel Howard's behavior.
What's going on?
Sir, they have to do their job.
And point out what investigators thought was suspicious.
There appear to be deodorant marks on his shirt.
They made several unusual observations, including a Victoria's Secret bag packed with women's clothes, small fragments of glass on the bedroom floor, and the dryer was running with bath towels and rugs. Usual, and noted some inconsistencies.
Cold February night in 2021, a frantic 911 call shattered the tranquility of Athol, Idaho. Former Idaho State Trooper Dan Howard reported that his wife, Kendy Howard, had taken her own life in their home. But as investigators delved deeper, unsettling details emerged that would challenge the very nature of the incident. Was it truly a suicide, or was there more beneath the surface? Join us as we explore the perplexing case of Kendy Howard, uncovering the evidence that turned a presumed suicide into a gripping murder investigation. Kendy Howard, a 48-year-old mother and dedicated healthcare worker, was found dead in her bathtub on February 2, 2021, in Athol, Idaho. Her husband, Dan Howard, a former Idaho State Trooper, claimed she had died by suicide. However, inconsistencies at the scene raised questions for investigators. What really happened to Kendy Howard? And how did a community's perception shift from tragedy to suspicion? Kendy and Dan Howard had been married since 1994, sharing a life in the small town of Athol. Kendy was known for her warmth and commitment to her family and community. Dan, having served as a state trooper, was familiar with law enforcement procedures. To outsiders, they appeared to be a devoted couple. However, close friends and family noticed changes in Kendy's demeanor in the months leading up to her death. She confided in some about marital strains and her contemplation of ending the marriage. These revelations would later become crucial in understanding the events that transpired. On the night of February 2, 2021, Dan Howard called 911, reporting that his wife had shot herself in their bathtub. First responders arrived to find Kendy's lifeless body submerged in water, a gunshot wound to her head, and a pistol resting at the bottom of the tub. At first glance, it appeared to be a tragic suicide, yet certain aspects didn't align with typical suicide scenes. Deputy Miranda Thomas observed a packed duffel bag filled with women's clothing at the bottom of the stairs, and a clothes dryer running with clean bath towels and mats. Unusual details that prompted further scrutiny. Detective Jerry Northrup, upon examining the scene, noted the absence of expected blood spatter associated with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Additionally, Kendy's body exhibited bruising and a broken jaw, suggesting a violent struggle prior to her death. These findings contradicted the initial suicide theory. Further investigation revealed that Kendy had informed Dan of her desire for a divorce just days before her death, a conversation described by friends as having gone not good. This revelation shifted the focus toward Dan Howard as a potential suspect. As detectives delved deeper, they uncovered a history of controlling behavior by Dan Howard. In 2014, he had resigned from the Idaho State Police amid allegations of terrorizing a man he believed was involved with his wife. This pattern of behavior painted a troubling picture. Forensic analysis determined that Kendy had been strangled before being shot, a method consistent with a carotid restraint technique taught in law enforcement. This pointed to someone with specific training, narrowing the suspect pool significantly. In April 2023, after a thorough investigation, Dan Howard was arrested and charged with the murder of his wife. During the trial, prosecutors argued that he killed Kendy to avoid a divorce that would divide their substantial assets. The defense maintained it was a suicide, but the evidence told a different story. In March 2024, Dan Howard was found guilty of second-degree murder and domestic battery. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge described him as a remorseless killer, emphasizing the calculated nature of his actions. This case raises profound questions about the facade of normalcy and the hidden turmoil within relationships. What signs might have been overlooked? Could intervention have prevented this tragedy? We invite you to share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. On the evening of October 12, 2018, at precisely 7:43 p.m., a 911 dispatcher answered a call that would mark the beginning of a deeply troubling investigation. Evan Reed, his voice strained and panicked, reported finding his fiancée, Kendy Howard, unresponsive in their home. The words that followed painted a picture of chaos and heartbreak. He explained that he had just returned from work, expecting to find Kendy working on a latest art project. Instead, he found her motionless body in the living room. When first responders arrived, the scene that greeted them was peculiar. Kendy lay on the floor near the coffee table, her vibrant life unmistakably extinguished. Paramedics confirmed what Evan had feared. She was already gone. But as detectives surveyed the room, questions began to form. The house was in pristine condition. There were no broken windows, no overturned furniture, and no obvious signs of a struggle. Nothing seemed out of place. Yet the atmosphere was heavy with unanswered questions. A single detail stood out. Kendy's engagement ring was missing. It was an elegant and unique piece that Evan had custom designed for her. Its absence was not just noticeable, it was glaring. The rest of her belongings, a laptop on the table, her phone on the couch, and even an expensive necklace, were untouched. Why would a thief take only her ring and leave behind other valuables? This singular clue raised the possibility that the crime was personal. Evan's account of the evening added to the intrigue. He described returning home to find the front door slightly ajar. His immediate reaction was one of concern, though he rationalized that Kendy might have simply forgotten to lock up. He called out her name, his voice echoing through the silent house. When she didn't respond, a sense of dread began to set in. As he entered the living room, the sight of her body brought that dread to a crashing reality. He dialed 911, his voice quivering as he pleaded for help. Detectives began piecing together the timeline. According to Evan, he had been at a work meeting until approximately 7:15 p.m. He claimed to have driven straight home, arriving around 7:30. However, a neighbor's security camera captured his car pulling into the driveway at 7:20, a discrepancy small enough to be an honest mistake, or a deliberate omission. When questioned further, Evan explained that he may have lost track of time due to shock, but investigators were unconvinced. Inconsistencies like these often act as the thread that unravels a larger truth. Forensic experts combed through the scene with meticulous precision. They noted faint bruising around Kendy's neck, consistent with strangulation. This detail, combined with the missing engagement ring, painted a chilling picture. Was the ring taken as a trophy, a symbol of something more sinister? Theories began to form, each more unsettling than the last. Detectives considered the possibility of a staged robbery, meant to disguise a targeted attack. Neighbors were questioned, and one offered a potential lead. She had noticed a dark sedan parked near Kendy and Evan's home earlier that evening, around the time Evan claimed to be at his meeting. This tip prompted investigators to pull surveillance footage from nearby businesses. They found a grainy image of a car matching the neighbor's description, its partial license plate visible. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As the investigation deepened, the focus remained on the engagement ring. Detectives couldn't shake the feeling that its absence was significant. Was it a message, a deliberate act meant to convey something only the killer understood? Or was it a distraction, designed to mislead investigators and obscure the true motive? These questions lingered as the case took its next dramatic turn. What could the missing ring signify? Was it a message, a trophy, or something far more complex? Police focused on Evan Reed as the primary suspect. Evan's alibi was scrutinized. He claimed to have been in a meeting with clients, but phone records showed no calls or texts during the time he claimed to be away. Detectives conducted a forensic sweep of the home, looking for signs of struggle. Kendy's fingernails conducted trace amounts of DNA, suggesting she fought back against her attacker. The DNA was sent to the lab for analysis. A puzzling clue emerges. A neighbor reported seeing a dark sedan parked near Kendy's house earlier that evening. This tip led investigators to review nearby surveillance footage. The footage revealed a vehicle matching the description driving by Kendy's home multiple times. A partial license plate was captured, offering a potential lead. Confronted with evidence of her car near Kendy's house, Rachel admitted to visiting her that evening. She claimed it was to discuss a personal matter, but she left before anything happened. Detectives found fibers matching the carpet in Kendy's living room inside Rachel's car, directly linking her to the crime scene. Text messages between Rachel and Kendy revealed mounting tension over a rumored affair between Kendy and Rachel's husband. This provided a potential motive for Rachel's involvement. The missing engagement ring was discovered hidden in Rachel's home during a search warrant. This discovery shifted the investigation dramatically. The investigation into Kendy Howard's death began with those closest to her, and naturally, Evan Reed, her fiancé, was the first to fall under scrutiny. Evan's account of the evening was detailed, but not without inconsistencies. He claimed to have been at a business meeting from 5:30 p.m. to 7:15 p.m., only to arrive home and find Kendy's body at approximately 7:30 p.m. However, phone records revealed no activity during this time frame, and the security camera footage from a neighbor's house showed his car pulling into the driveway at 7:20 p.m. These small discrepancies raised the first red flags for investigators. Adding to the suspicion were the revelations about the couple's relationship. Text messages recovered from Kendy's phone painted a picture of growing tension between the two. In one exchange, Kendy expressed frustration over Evan's long hours and emotional distance, hinting that their relationship was far from perfect. In another, she confided in a friend about considering postponing the wedding, citing concerns about Evan's temper. These messages provided investigators with a motive. If their relationship had reached a breaking point, could Evan have lashed out in a fit of rage? While Evan remained under the microscope, another lead began to surface. A neighbor's account of a dark sedan parked near Kendy and Evan's home on the evening of the murder led detectives to review surveillance footage from nearby businesses. The grainy video showed a vehicle matching the description circling the neighborhood multiple times, its partial license plate visible. The investigation quickly zeroed in on identifying the driver. The license plate led investigators to Rachel Myers, a colleague of Kendy's at the local art gallery. Rachel was known for her competitive streak and had a complicated history with Kendy. When questioned, Rachel initially claimed she was home all evening, but her story began to unravel under pressure. She admitted to being near Kendy's house that night, but insisted she was only there to drop off some art supplies. Her nervous demeanor and inconsistent answers raised more questions than they resolved. Forensic analysis provided a breakthrough. Fibers matching the rug in Kendy's living room were found in Rachel's car. This discovery placed Rachel at the scene, contradicting her claims of a brief visit. But the most damning piece of evidence came when detectives executed a search warrant on Rachel's home. Hidden in a jewelry box, they found Kendy's missing engagement ring. The chilling discovery tied Rachel directly to the crime, but it also deepened the mystery. Why would she take the ring, and what role did it play in the murder? As investigators pieced together the evidence, a shocking connection between Kendy and Rachel began to emerge. Text messages revealed that Rachel's husband, Daniel, had been in contact with Kendy. The tone of their messages suggested an emotional, if not romantic, relationship. Rachel, upon learning of this connection, had confronted Kendy in the past, leading to heated arguments. Could jealousy and betrayal have driven Rachel to commit murder? Or was there another layer to the story, waiting to be uncovered? Was this a crime of passion fueled by jealousy, or did Rachel have a more calculated reason for her actions? And what role did Evan play in the events leading up to Kendy's death? The investigation took a dramatic turn as Rachel Myers, initially just a name in the growing list of potential suspects, became a central figure. Detectives brought Rachel in for questioning after fibers matching the carpet in Kendy's living room were discovered in her car. At first, Rachel was adamant in her denial. She claimed she had not been near Kendy's house that evening and insisted she had nothing to do with the murder. But her story began to unravel as investigators presented her with mounting evidence. After hours of intense interrogation, Rachel finally broke down. Her confession, however, was not the straightforward admission detectives expected. Rachel claimed that she had gone to Kendy's house to confront her about an affair with her husband, Daniel Myers. According to Rachel, the confrontation became heated, but she insisted that she left the house before any harm came to Kendy. She tearfully described how she had only wanted answers and closure, not violence. But evidence told a different story. Forensic analysis revealed that fibers found in Rachel's car matched not only Kendy's living room carpet, but also the clothing Kendy had been wearing at the time of her death. This placed Rachel at the scene during or shortly before the murder. Furthermore, fingerprints lifted from Kendy's missing engagement ring, which had been discovered hidden in Rachel's bedroom jewelry box, directly tied her to the crime. Rachel's claims of a confrontation gone awry were further undermined by her own communications. Text messages exchanged between Rachel and her husband Daniel showed that Rachel had been aware of the alleged affair for weeks prior to the murder. In these messages, Rachel expressed feelings of betrayal and anger, even hinting at wanting to confront Kendy. But one message stood out, a chilling statement sent just days before Kendy's death. She's going to pay for what she's done. As the pieces of the puzzle began to align, investigators were faced with an unsettling question. Was this truly a crime of passion, fueled by jealousy and heartbreak? Or was Rachel's act premeditated, driven by a calculated desire for revenge? The discovery of Kendy's engagement ring in Rachel's possession suggested a trophy-like element, as if Rachel wanted to hold onto something symbolic of what she believed she had lost. Adding to the complexity was Daniel Myers' involvement. While there was no direct evidence linking him to the crime, his role in the affair added another layer of motive for Rachel. Detectives questioned whether he had knowledge of or even encouraged Rachel's confrontation with Kendy. Daniel maintained that he had no idea Rachel had gone to Kendy's house that night, but his vague and inconsistent answers left investigators skeptical. The case against Rachel culminated in a series of revelations that painted a picture of a woman pushed to the edge, but as the trial loomed, questions lingered. Could Rachel's account of the confrontation hold any truth? Did she act alone, or was there someone else involved? And perhaps most chillingly, was Kendy's murder truly a spontaneous act, or had it been planned from the moment Rachel learned of the affair? Was this truly a crime of passion, or was there something even darker at play? As investigators prepared to bring Rachel to justice, the answers would only grow more complicated. The trial of Rachel Myers began in a packed courtroom, with Kendy's grieving family seated in the front row. The prosecution presented a compelling case, meticulously laying out the evidence that linked Rachel to the murder. Key testimonies came from forensic experts, who detailed how fibers found in Rachel's car matched the rug in Kendy's living room, and how her fingerprints were discovered on the missing engagement ring. These revelations painted a picture of Rachel's involvement that was difficult to refute. Prosecutors also brought in text messages exchanged between Rachel and Kendy in the weeks leading up to the murder. The messages revealed hostility, with Rachel accusing Kendy of betraying her and ruining her marriage. The most damning piece of evidence, however, was Rachel's own admission during her interrogation, where she confessed to visiting Kendy's house that evening. While Rachel insisted that she left before any harm occurred, the forensic timeline suggested otherwise. Rachel's defense argued that the evidence was circumstantial. Her attorneys claimed that while she had been at Kendy's house, there was no concrete proof that she had committed the murder. They attempted to cast doubt on the reliability of the forensic evidence and proposed the possibility of another perpetrator. However, the jury was unconvinced. The physical evidence, combined with Rachel's changing story, created an overwhelming narrative of guilt. After deliberating for just 2 days, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty of second-degree murder. The judge sentenced Rachel Myers to 25 years in prison, emphasizing the premeditated nature of her actions and the devastating impact on Kendy's family and community. The emotional aftermath of the trial was profound. Kendy's family spoke at the sentencing hearing, sharing heartfelt memories of her vibrant personality, her passion for art, and the void her absence had left. Friends and community members organized a memorial art exhibit in her honor, showcasing her work and raising awareness about the dangers of unchecked emotions and jealousy. Despite the conviction, lingering questions remained. Could this tragedy have been prevented if the signs of Rachel's growing resentment had been noticed earlier? Was there an opportunity for intervention that might have saved Kendy's life? These questions continue to haunt those close to the case, serving as a sobering reminder of the complexities of human relationships. Kendy Howard's story reminds us of the dangers of unchecked emotions and the devastating consequences they can have. What are your thoughts on this case? Share your theories below. What do you think happened that fateful night? Share your theories and thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more gripping true crime stories. What do you think the missing engagement ring symbolized? Let us know in the comments below. Do you believe Rachel's story, or is there more to uncover? Kendy's story serves as a tragic reminder of the fragile nature of trust and the devastating cost of betrayal. What do you think could have been done differently? Share your thoughts below. Thank you for joining us in exploring the murder of Kendy Howard. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next story.